organization for believing in me and giving me a chance to do this. You guys will like it. It's going to be a fan in the booth. I'm a fan. This is what's great for me. I told people this at a big event I did the other night. For 21 years, I've had to be objective. Really for more than that, but 21 in Texas. I've had to be objective. I've had to tell both sides of the story. I've had to be a journalist. And now I get to be a fan. Because now I'm a part of the Texas Rangers, and like you, I'm a fan. And so I'll sort of be a fan in the booth for all of you. So I look forward to it big time.
Okay, here's what I want to encourage everyone to do. If you have a question, just step right up here. We'll see you standing by the mic, and then we'll throw it to you. Why don't we go to Chuck Greenberg here? Now, Chuck, we've had you on the show many times, been in a lot of these situations just like this with you, and it's always like, you know, what's been the coolest thing, and what has it been like? And now you're going through an off-season process where you've had some things happen for you that were great, some things happen for you that you wish had happened and didn't happen. What have you learned now as you go through the off-season process? And here you are, what are we, 5-6 days away from catchers and pitchers reporting?
Well, I think the biggest thing I've learned is how easy it is to inadvertently tick off the Yankees. And I haven't meant to. But it's been a really interesting off-season. So many things going on. First of all, by the way, it's great to be back here tonight. How many of you were at this event last year around this time of year? Okay, well, this was the first public event after our group signed the purchase agreement to buy the ball club. And at the time, I really did think that we were going to be done within a month or two, so I wasn't quite right about that one. But you know, it's been quite an off season. You know, obviously we had a wonderful season. So many things came together. Had the incredible run through the playoffs, culminating in defeating the Yankees in the ALCS, and then reaching the World Series. We came up 3 games short of our goal, but it was a huge step forward for us as an organization, and I think for all of us as the extended Rangers family. And this entire off-season has been dedicated to finding a way to not just get back to where we were, but to take that next step and to win 3 more games in the postseason. And we've been aggressive in everything that we've done, and we were able to achieve some of the things we wanted to. There were a few things that we set out to do that did not take place, but we were undeterred. And when we did not sign Cliff Lee, no one grieved about it. You know, JD and Thad and their whole team went back to work, and we signed Adrian Beltre. And they kept going all through the off-season. And we really like our ball club a lot right now. We feel it's much stronger than it was at this time a year ago, and we're really looking forward to the season. As far as everything going on off the field, it's been a very enjoyable scramble, because after taking over the team so late and having the extended run through the playoffs, we've had a very short off season. And when you combine that with it being our first off season, that ratcheted up the challenges that we had. But we're thrilled with the additions we've made to our front office team. We've hired some wonderful people to join the outstanding people and professionals we already had in the front office. We're able to move forward with our project to improve Rangers Ballpark, which I think everybody knows we had our eye on for a long, long time, and we were a little worried that we wouldn't be able to do it because of the delay, but we've actually been able to do everything we intended and more. And when you are there, if you're there opening day on April 1st against the Red Sox, I think you're going to be blown away with what you see, because it's really spectacular. And then we've been going about the business of serving each and every one of you. You know, taking a look at our ticket packages, taking a look at the way we approach the entire in-game experience. So it's been a really busy off-season. I've used the analogy a few times. It's kind of been like in one of those Flintstones cartoons where Fred Flintstone is just pumping his legs and hoping he gets a little bit of traction when his feet touch the ground. But we've been having a ball. It's great to be carrying the hopes and the dreams and the excitement, enthusiasm, and belief of Ranger fans every day. And we know how much the success meant to all of you last year, and we're doing everything we can to not only duplicate, but to build and improve upon that next year. And just helps us go through every day with a smile and a lot of enthusiasm, and do the very best that we can for every one of you.
Yeah, feel free to
Put your hands together. Some good answers here. And all right, so what we're going to do is we'll start working in some questions from you guys. If you want to stand in line and come on up, and feel free to fire a question off at anybody. And what I'm going to do is ask one more question. We're going to fire it over to Chuck. It's a question for Chuck, and then when he's finished answering this question, sir, you can step up. So today you guys signed the AL MVP to a 2-year deal, and I guess first of all, congratulations on that. Second of all, with regard to the 2-year deal, whose interest or who had the most interest in making it a 2-year deal, the club or Josh? And just talk about the unique situation that he's in, being the age that he's at, still having some arbitration to go.
Well, it was a mutual desire to do a 2-year deal, and given the timing with the hearing scheduled for just around the corner, we all agreed that we had to get done what we could in the time period that we had to work with. And so for both the ball club and for Josh to do a 2-year deal was very appealing. And JD and Thad and their team and Mike Moya, Josh's agent, and their group really did a terrific job working together, because it's a complex situation given Josh's performance and having 2 years to go in arbitration. So they did a terrific job together, and we're thrilled that for the next couple of years neither he nor we even have to think about any of this again.
I know we got a lot of pitching, in our minor league system, but what are we doing to replenish the position players? Because we're kind of, to me, through the scouting reports, it looks like we're kind of thin, and see how we're working, with young, but kind of in the, AAA, AA. What are we doing with the position players? What are you going to do with the draft?
That's a great question for Don Welke when he gets here. But I can tell you what I've learned and what I saw when I went out there in September to Fall Instructional League is that right now, for the first time since I've been going out there, at the lower levels of the system, we're no longer pitching heavy. There's pitching prospects, but we're absolutely position player heavy. When you talk about the teenagers and the lower couple levels, there's half a dozen shortstops that probably are ready to start for one of the 2 bottom teams right now and are legitimate prospects. There's catchers, there's some power hitting outfielders coming up. These guys are all 3-4 years away. But again, for the first time in several years, you don't have to look too hard to find the position player prospects, the legitimate ones. When Don gets here, ask him that question, because one of Don's fortes is the work that he's done in the Dominican and Venezuela. His Latin American insight and experience is really one of the main factors behind that part of the program here really turning around the last few years. So when he gets here, let's fire that back at him. But I'll again, from my amateur perspective, a couple years from now, we'll probably be looking at the system and saying there's more hitting prospects than pitching prospects.
And obviously, when you have a situation where quite a few players move up to the big leagues within a very short period of time, that does leave a little bit of a mark on an organization. But I think that everyone throughout baseball would agree that particularly the lower levels of the minor leagues, we're as loaded as anybody. In fact, our team in Spokane in the Northwest League last year, which is short season A-ball, of the top 16 prospects in that league, 6 of them played for Spokane, which is remarkable. So we have an abundance of outstanding young athletic players. They happen to be in the lower levels of the minors, but on the other hand, we have a core that we expect to be together here for a while, so we don't have to rush anybody. We can take our time, and our scouts are continuing to do a great job in identifying talent with the highest ceiling possible, and we'll take our time and develop those guys, and when they're ready, there'll be a spot for them.
All right, John, I got a question for you I want to get to in 1 second, but I think we need to address the elephant in the room for the room that is completely inappropriate for elephants. And that is what we've been talking about all week, and that's the Michael Young situation. And Chuck, from your perspective, a lot of journalists and folks who are following it are trying to figure out what exactly has happened. From your perspective, what has happened to where Michael would request?
Bad timing. Bad.
sorry.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming. Give it to the TV guy. He'll know exactly what to do.
We are.
1, 2, 1, 2. Very important answer coming right in 3, 2, 1.
And here I thought I'd get out of here without anybody asking me. Well, you know, it's an unfortunate situation. It's not a situation. It's a situation that we wish were different. A lot has been said over the last week, and I don't think it benefits anybody to go back over it or to do or say anything that might just complicate the situation further. But suffice to say, this is not the way that we prefer it to be. We have the utmost respect for Michael, and we want Michael to remain a Ranger. If not, then something would have happened weeks or months ago. But everybody's entitled to their emotions and their feelings, and we respect his. We wish he felt differently, but we respect his right to those feelings. And out of respect for his wishes, we are honoring them by exploring the possibility of doing what he's asked us to do, which is to trade him. And as Nolan and JD have said, if there is an opportunity to grant his request while improving the organization, we will look at that with an open mind. But if we can't improve the organization, then we're not going to move him. And we have the utmost respect for Michael, both as a person and as a player. He's a premium player. He's a premium performer. And, you know, you don't just trade someone like that lightly. And it's very difficult to replace him in a multitude of ways. So, you know, we're not speculating on how this is going to play out. But again, it's not a situation of our choosing. We pride ourselves on being a family. Everything that I've talked about from the time that our group first stepped forward was that we were going to treat this like a family business, and that we're all part of an extended family. And you know, sometimes there are disputes within a family, and there are times when not everybody is quite as in love with one another as at other times. But you find a way to work your way through it, and as I said, we respect Michael's wishes. We are in deference to those wishes, exploring his preference, and you know, at the end of the day, we'll have to do what's best for the entire Rangers family, and that's do what is necessary to try to have the very best ball club and the very best organization that we can have.
All right, working on the other microphone. We're good. Okay, we're good to go. I got one more quick question to throw in here before we get to that. So far, Mr. Rhadigan, what's your biggest beef with the organization?
Man, they're hard to work for. I don't even work for them yet. No, and there really isn't. I can't even think of one. It's like I go pick the brains of people I know in the organization. I was up there in the offices the other day. I'm like, so is it really as good as it looks? And they're like, yes, you know. And I had a lady who's worked there for years describe it the other day. She said, you know, when Nolan got here a couple years ago, everything got better. As president, he made everything in the office better. And then she said, and then Chuck started a year ago, and we had hope. She said, that's the best way I can describe it, hope. We had hope that this was going to be a wonderful, family-like organization. And I said, and then, she said, the hope came to pass. She said, once they bought the team, and look, all you need to know, if you don't, and most of you probably do because you're such great Rangers fans, all you need to know is the kinds of things they did immediately once they bought the team. They didn't own the team for a month and a half when they flew half of the staff to Tampa just because it was the right thing to do. We're in the playoffs. You guys have worked really hard for a long time and been underappreciated. We're flying you to Tampa. We're taking care of your hotel room. You get to go to the playoff games and have fun on us. And then just in case we don't make it to another round, the rest of you people who had to work the offices that night, you'll get this opportunity again. Well, thank God, we did make it to the next round. They went to New York. The other half of the workers, they all went to New York. That's what they did because it was the right thing to do. And look, that gives all the people who worked there at that time ownership in the organization, and that gives them such a great feeling about this new ownership group. And then they've continued to do that. My first official event as a Rangers announcer, even though I haven't officially started, March 1st is my official start date, but we had the announcement that I'd gotten this job on a Wednesday. Friday was the midwinter banquet. I go to the midwinter banquet, just flying high, cloud nine, and if any of you were there, you know the event, the moment I'm talking about. All of a sudden, Chuck gets up there and starts talking about the Ron Washington, the hurricane and Katrina and taking everything, and the Eric Chavez glove, and we're going to try to borrow a page from Eric Chavez, who replaced Ron's irreplaceable gold glove and had that taken care of. And I'm racking my brain. I've been to Wash's house in New Orleans. I did the story on him rebuilding that house a few years ago, and I'm racking my brain going, what is it? What is it? What are they going to give him? All of a sudden, they open the big doors at the Gaylord Texan Ballroom and drive out a 1985 Cadillac Baritz. That was the only other irreplaceable thing that Wash had in that house at that time. And I went home and I told my wife and my kids, I go, this is who I work for now. How great is this? This is what they did for this man. And if you weren't there, if you didn't see Wash, bound off that stage and run over to that car and open that door and go, this is it! This is it! This is exactly it! And then I said to him later, I go, so that's it? Yours had the red leather and everything? And he goes, actually, Rad, it had white leather, but Chuck said he's going to replace the red with white. So, this is what these guys did. And it's like Chuck said this to me before. Sometimes we just do the right thing because it's the right thing. And so I have found no inconsistencies in that process or in that belief or in that philosophy at all. It's been really, really fun and enlightening to see that it is what it appears to be.
And that's why you immediately told Chuck that you had some hail damage the other day. It's an 89 Cutlass, Chuck. It looked really good. All right, go ahead, step up, sir.
I'm hearing you, Rhadigan. I like what you had to say there. I did find myself this afternoon listening critically to what John Daniels had to say about the Josh Hamilton deal. After signing for 2 years and saying, I hope that we can have a longer relationship in the future. Because of the whole Michael Young, I would say, debacle at this point, for the first time I listened critically to what John Daniels had to say. Do we need to listen critically? I want Michael Young here. I think a lot of us do. I think all of us do. That's what Josh Hamilton said. But I'm wondering really what made Michael Young this mad. Who said what? Do we need to listen critically to John Daniels and others in the organization?
Well, let me just say first, as a quick way in, because Chuck's got a lot more to say about this than I do and a lot more knowledge, but let me just say, you listened to John Daniels critically when he first started, too, and he was the youngest GM in baseball, and you scratched your head and went, what the heck? What is this guy saying? And then he earned tons of credit with you from all the good things that he's done. And now you're listening critically again, and that's okay. I said on the air the other night, nobody in this Rangers organization wants to see Michael Young in another uniform, and that includes John Daniels. Michael Young may want to right now, but nobody else in the organization wants to see Michael Young in another uniform. If Michael could look at it completely objectively, which he can't, I talked about objectivity earlier. If he could look at it completely objectively, he would say, all they've done is taken every step they can take to make this club better. And that's what everybody in the organization does and should want. But Michael can't be completely objective. Thank you, yeah. I don't blame Michael. I love Michael. I don't want to see Michael gone. I want him in this organization. Believe me, Ben and Skin do too. He's such a go-to guy in the clubhouse. But Michael can't look at it completely objectively. But all the Rangers have done this offseason is taken every step, and they were hoping and trying to even take the step of, let's check with Michael before we do this Beltre thing and make sure he's okay with it. And, then the landscape changed a little bit. But all they're trying to do, all John Daniels is trying to do, is make this organization better every day when he goes to work in the offseason. Now, Chuck may want to weigh in on it.
Well, if the question is, where did it go wrong? The answer is I don't know, and there's not a lot of benefit in trying to de-engineer it to figure it out, because at the end of the day, it's not a debate, it's not a trial, it's a relationship, and relationships have their ups and downs. But I think John said it well. Everything that our front office has done throughout the off season has been about trying to make our club better, because we have one goal, and that's to win the World Series, and then to try to win it again. So, where the relationship hit a speed bump, or why it hit that speed bump, I don't know. And at this point, we just have to go forward. But as I said earlier, and as John said, we want Michael to stay a Ranger. I can't put it any more plainly than that. And we're exploring alternatives because he's asked us to, and not for any other reason.
Okay, so what's happened here in the meantime is we are now joined by a very special guest. Give it up for Don Welke. His official title is Senior Special Assistant to the General Manager. I've just heard him described as Man of Baseball Awesome. So, if you have some of the scouting question we had earlier about how the positional, how we're looking from a positional standpoint, that's the kind of question we're going to ask Don, and it looks like he's ready to jump in.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I went to the wrong Sherlock's. I went to the one in Arlington, and I've been fighting traffic on 75 to get here, so I'm sorry about being late. I'm also very happy to be able to speak to a group like this, because I feel like you guys are the true fans, and the guys that follow Jamie's daily information, and the guys who really, really care about the Rangers. And we're excited about where we're going. As far as we're concerned, we're still a work in progress in building this team and building this organization. We realized our goal a little bit quicker than we had thought last year. We had intended to compete in 2010 and try to win it in 2011, and I think we were able to step that up a little bit, mainly because we were able to acquire Cliff Lee at the midterm last year. I think from a scouting perspective, we have done all we can do to try to build a farm system here, and I still think that's the most important thing for any organization, because to go into the free agent market today is exceedingly dangerous and very, very expensive, and so we've done all we can do to build a farm system. What we did as a group, and Chuck is right in the middle of it from our group at the winter meetings, we as a group, a decision-making group, got together and did everything we can do to make the team better. And that's what we do every single day. Anything we can do to make the team better for you guys and for us is what our quest is and what our goal is. We decided that to make the team better, we were going to go after Adrian Beltre. I happen to know Adrian Beltre from the Dodgers, and so does A.J. Preller, who's in our group. You guys are going to like Adrian Beltre. So we decided to go after Adrian Beltre with only one thought in mind, and that is to make the team better. And that was our decision as a group, and that's what we did. In the meantime, we did everything that we thought we could do to respect our senior member, number 10, Michael. John talked to talked to Michael's agent first and told him It may be a long shot, but we're still going to try to get Adrian Beltre. If so, we'd like for Michael to DH. And we think that will make the team better, and we will not go out in quest of a definite DH if that is the case. Well, that conversation went on a little bit, and Ron and Washington and myself and John went to Las Vegas to meet with Scott Boras and Adrian Beltre in mid-December, and we could see that there was a connection between Ron and Adrian and our team and his thoughts and his wanting to win and so on. And so we continued to pursue Adrian as two other teams in our division were pursuing Adrian. And we continued to pursue Adrian, and as it worked out, we were able to acquire Adrian Beltre. At that time, John went back to the agent for Michael and wanted to speak directly to Michael about the situation, and told him that as a couple of years ago, as a group, we made a decision to play Elvis Andrus at shortstop, and then went to Michael and explained that to him and so forth. Well, Michael was still not ready to be a DH at that point, and then changed his mind midweek the next week. And so we got together as a group and said, well, okay, we're going to go that route, and we're going to go with Michael as a DH. Now, as Chuck had said a few minutes ago, I don't know what went wrong. I do know John has tried everything possible to get together with Michael and explain this thing. And is there a misunderstanding? Is there a miscommunication? I know for 25 years I was right next to Pat Gillett, who was just named to the Hall of Fame as probably the greatest general manager ever. And there's no questioning Pat's integrity or prowess as a general manager, maybe one of the best ever. There's also no questioning John Daniels as his integrity or prowess as a general manager and intellect as a coordinator of our decision-making group. So somehow something went wrong. It's not what we like. It's not what we want by any means. And it's not come out the way we want it to. But I'm just trying to explain some of the background on the thing. We're going to be fine. Michael has requested a trade, and we will trade Michael if it will help our club. If it will not help our club, if we're better with Michael on the club, if things can be patched up or whatever, great. If we'll respect his wishes if it makes our club better. But that's the long and short of it from my perspective.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and step up, sir.
Hi. First of all, Mr. Greenberg, thank you for buying the team, getting it back in shape. The question is, was the design Michael Young to be the best option at DH, or was it more so to get Adrian Beltre? So, in other words, had the price tag been right for Vlad, would we still be looking at Mike at third, or was it all along to get Beltre?
Well, it was a matter of stages. The decision was that JD and Thad and Don and Nolan and everyone whose opinion from a baseball standpoint is a lot more qualified than mine, that signing Adrian Beltre to play third base was going to improve the ball club a great deal. Middle-of-the-order hitter, an elite defensive third baseman, a tremendous guy in the clubhouse, and that was going to improve the ball club. So then the second part was, okay, if he's going to play third base, where are we, which direction are we going at DH? And the decision was that it'd be with Michael. And the best indication of that is that we didn't sign Vlad. I mean, if we'd wanted to sign Vlad and trade Michael at that time, we would have. But we didn't. And I think that the actions speak clearly. By the way, I just want to say one other thing about Don. Don is a true baseball treasure. I mean, he mentioned Pat Gillick, and early in the process of trying to purchase the club, I had lunch in Philadelphia with Dave Montgomery, who is the managing partner of the Phillies. And he said when the Phillies brought in Pat Gillick, they assumed that he was going to clean house and he'd bring in all of his own people and get rid of everyone who was there. And to everybody's amazement, he didn't get rid of anybody, and he brought in one person because he said he needed to bring one person with him to have the impact that he was looking for, and that person was Don Welke. And the Phillies subsequently won the World Series, and they're a model organization. And Pat invited Don to be there when he was for the Hall of Fame induction itself, and that's the kind of regard that people throughout the game have in Don. And we're just incredibly fortunate as an organization to have Don Welke in the family. So Don, thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. You know, I really appreciate that. It meant a lot to me that Pat had called the day that he was inducted or voted in over guys like Marvin Miller and Steinbrenner, who were on the same ballot at the same time. And it means a great deal to me that he told me to keep July 24th open because he wanted me there for that induction ceremony, which meant a ton to me. Having said that, I will say this. Having been more than 25 years with Pat, I have never had more fun in my baseball career than I've had with the Texas Rangers in the last 5 years. It is absolutely exciting to see you guys get so excited, to see us do what we did last year, to see our new ownership come in who really care. Chuck and Nolan absolutely care about the fans and our following. We from a scouting perspective, value two things. In my opinion, my humble opinion, the reason we won and got to the World Series last year is twofold. One, talent. Two, chemistry. We really value character when we look at 16-year-old kids in the Dominican, when we look at college or high school kids in the draft, and character becomes more and more important to us. And we see that the fans recognize we have quality people on that team. We are very proud of the leadership. Michael Young is definitely a leader on our team. We have many other leaders and great character people on that team. Josh Hamilton is coming into his own. Nelson Cruz is coming into his own. 22-year-old shortstop Elvis Andrus has all kinds of leadership potential. Ian Kinsler has all kinds of leadership potential. We got Mr. O'Day in the bullpen, and we got veteran guys like Arthur Rhodes and Darren Oliver, all of whom have their own contribution to our chemistry and to our leadership factor. So, you know, that part of things will be fine. And like we have said, we'd love to have Michael back and get this thing all worked out. But the excitement of where we're going and what we're doing is just invigorating every day to all of us.
I'd like to sneak, definitely put your hands together for that. That was good stuff. I want to sneak a quick question in here. Earlier today on ESPN Radio, we got into this debate, and we were just having a discussion as we often do on the radio. And Chuck, I'll ask you this. In your opinion, who is the current face of the franchise and why?
I think the great thing is that it's like saying who's the face of Mount Rushmore. There's multiple faces, and you know, that's the situation we're in. We've got a terrific group of players. They're great people. They're men of character, and they are characters. I mean, they're a fun group of guys. So I don't think there is a singular face of the franchise, and I think that's a credit to a lot of the people on the team. We've got again tremendous personalities and a lot of guys, and you know, after all, that's part of the fun of being in love and being a fan of a great team, is that there's so many people that you can like. It's like, you know, who's the face of the Beatles? You know, I mean, you can love any of the four of them. And so I think it's the same thing here, that we've got so many guys who are worth being your favorite that that's the way we would all want it to be, and I think that's the way it is right now.
Yes, I just have, I have two questions for Don. In reference to, since Chuck's bought the team, can you discuss any international free agents we've signed? I get excited. I started listening to Jamie and reading the Newberg report for the minor league portion of it, so wanted to see that, and then maybe 2 or 3 players that are off our radar that you're really excited about in the minor leagues.
Yeah, interesting question. Yeah, we've signed a few international players. We kind of laid off the international players in the last year or so for a couple of reasons. One, because we were bankrupt. But we've signed a few international players, and we definitely have our sights on 3 or 4 very special international players right now. And we're working on that very profusely at this point. As a matter of fact, I'm leaving in the morning to work on one of them in the Miami area. But so naturally, I can't talk about those guys at this point, but we're definitely back in the international market, and we're looking for the high-impact guy, high-character guy, and we think there are a few out there, and hopefully you'll be reading about them soon in Jamie's information. As far as a few guys that are off the radar for our top-flight fans out there, there's a young catcher that we just signed, is 17 years old, from Colombia, named Jorge Alfaro, who can do it all. He can flat out do it all. He has all-star potential. You know, he's just a baby and just a young kid, but will be very interesting to see how he develops and how he comes along. Obviously, one on the radar for all of you top flight true blue fans is Jurickson Profar, who we signed a year or so ago. I think he's still 17 years old, and he's been asked for in numerous trades already. But we have a shortstop named Alberto. We have a second base shortstop named Odubel Herrera, and these are Latinos. We have a wealth, actually, of young, middle, infield, premium position players who are not yet recognized by the people who rank the minor league system. But in my opinion, our minor league system is as strong as it's ever been. Basically, a lot of our guys are in the big leagues now that have gotten us to that high level of ranking Baseball America-wise and so forth. And now we've dropped a little bit this year by their ranking. But by our ranking, because we have so many high-profile, high-ceiling, young guys that people aren't aware of, we're as strong as we've ever been.
Before I ask Chuck which Ranger is most like John Lennon, I've got another question for you, Don. I'm very interested in this, and if I'm stereotyping, just tell me to go take a hike here. But I always think of guys like you that have been around the game for a very long time, having a feel for the game and an eye for the game, and you know when you see it. And then, of course, there's this huge trend in baseball of saber-metrics and just hyper-critical analysis based on in-game statistics. What is someone like you who's been around the game so long and used your eye and your feel for baseball, how do you incorporate sabermetrics if you actually do at all?
I think that's a great question. I really don't. I mean, I go by I go by gut feeling. I go by experience. I go by what we see. I go by a lot more every year by what we think is inside the player, in addition to what the obvious physical talents are. And I know as far as Pat Gillett goes, he does not go by the sabermetrics and all this and that. And as far as John goes, he goes big with our scouts and with our group. And those two guys are general managers that go big with scouts and their instincts and their thoughts along those lines. Having said that, John is a guy that's very thorough and incorporates everything into the picture. But his main thought, his main, direction is to go with the scouts and with guys that what you see and what you think. And from my perspective, that's the biggest thing. And whenever, a couple of things in my mind, whenever you see a player do something easy, I think that's a big thing you better pay attention to. Because as the game gets faster at every level, you know, it's much better that you can easily, you know, adapt into that thing. And then the other thing is, whenever you see a player on the field show you that inside that Jim Abbott did, that Pat Henkin did, that John Olerud did, that Josh Hamilton does, that, you know, better pay attention there too. So from my perspective, it's what you see and what you think and what your gut feel says.
Question for Chuck. In as much as we've already reconfigured some of the seating at the ballpark, and in as much as it hardly ever snows or has ice storms in July, what's the time frame for getting the All-Star game back to Arlington, to the ballpark? Not to Cowboy Stadium.
Well, first of all, my wife was finally able to move down here with our dogs full time 10 days ago. So she's really enjoying the weather. I think it'd be great to get the All-Star game back here. And I mean, we've been so busy with so many things we've had to tackle immediately. That isn't something that we have been speaking with Major League Baseball about, but we would be proud and honored to host it. We love our ballpark. We're going to continue to make improvements to it every year. Like I said, I think you're all going to be blown away with the improvements we're making this year. And I think it is timely to start considering whether we can have an opportunity to host an All-Star game again. So that's certainly something that when we have an opportunity, we will take up with Major League Baseball. By the way, I just want to say one thing, because the last gentleman had asked a question in reference to when I bought the team, and I just want to say one thing. You know, Nolan and I, of course, are the ones who everyone hears of the most, but I just do want to give special recognition to our whole ownership group. You know, we literally would not be here without them, and they were incredibly patient and dedicated throughout that entire very difficult process of trying to purchase the team. They've given us the latitude and the resources to do as we see fit, to take care of everybody in the Rangers family, to step up financially in terms of the player moves that we made and the other investments we're making in the organization, the ballpark. And we're very fortunate. We've got a great group of partners. Almost all of them live here in the Metroplex. They've dedicated their lives and many philanthropic activities to try and improve the quality of life here, and we're very fortunate to have partners like that. And as fans, which all of us, including all of us up here are, it's great to have them be such an important part of the Rangers family, because they're a big part of why we're able to do the things that we're able to do to put a smile on all of our faces. So I just wanted to give all of them special recognition.
I got another quick question for Don. All right. Let's say you had to pick one guy in the minors who's never been to the majors, and you had to bet your house on it that this guy is going to make the most of Chuck Greenberg's money. This is the guy who's going to be a star, who's going to be an absolute star, and he's in the minors right now, and you had to bet that much. Who is that one guy you'd bet on?
Well, that's kind of easy. There'd be two, but the one that you asked for one, would be Jurickson Profar, the 18-year-old shortstop from Curacao, that was asked for in the Greinke talks, that was asked for in the Garza talks as just a young baby. And the other guy would be the guy I mentioned a minute ago, Jorge Alfaro. They both have all-star potential.
First of all, congratulations, Chuck and Don. Awesome season for Rangers fans. And it seems obvious from a fan's perspective that the team has a great, solid foundation built for long-term success. But I'm curious, from a talent perspective or from a front office perspective, what's the biggest opportunity area or the weakest link of the organization for 2011?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part. What's the biggest opportunity?
Yeah, what's the biggest opportunity area, or in other words, the weakest link of the organization in 2011?
Well, it's all relative. I mean, we think we've got a terrific organization. The breadth and depth of talent we have in all facets is outstanding. One of the things that kept us going, that attracted me to the Rangers in the first place, that kept myself and Nolan and all of us going, was how much we believed in the people who we already had, our players, our baseball front office, our other front office people. And we've supplemented all of those folks with some pretty extraordinary people from around the sports industry. During this offseason, Rick George, our new Chief Operating Officer, who we brought from the PGA Tour, Todd Taylor, who's our new Executive Vice President of Ticket Sales and Marketing, who was in a similar role with the Brewers, where they were consistently drawing in the neighborhood of $3 million a year in a very small market. Tuesday was the first day for Joe Januszewski, who's now in charge of business partnerships and business development. We brought him in from the Red Sox, who I think are second to none in those endeavors. There, Jay Miller, who had run the Ryan family's minor league baseball teams at a level that's, again, second to none among minor league clubs. So I think the talent that we brought in to go with those who we inherited puts our front office in a phenomenal position. I'd say the biggest weakness we have is also one of the things that I'm most pleased about, which is that we've had a really, really short off season. But I'll take a short off season every year. But to have a short off season in a year where our ownership group is new, where we've been adding to the management team, obviously just makes it that much more difficult to accomplish all of the things during an off season that we would like. But we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for a long, long time. And every day we're just going to try as an organization to be a little bit better than the day before. So I wish we had more time, but I'm sure glad that our season went until November 1st. I wish it would have gone until November 4th. And I think it's, on the one hand, it's a weakness, but on the other hand, it's all because of good things, and we're going to make the very best of it. And, like I said, I think we've had a terrific off season.
Don, you mentioned the importance of chemistry in the clubhouse. I wanted to get information on the reaction from the team when Adrian Beltre joined them, and did they mesh very well? Did they accept him, and were they excited to have him on the club?
Yeah, I think everybody's very happy to have Adrian. They recognize he was an all-star last year. He had a tremendous season. He's an outstanding glove man, maybe as good as it gets at third, along with Evan Longoria with Tampa. And I think everybody's very, very happy to have Adrian. And Adrian, besides all those things, plays every game and is a great guy in the clubhouse and a great team guy. I'm sure the community and the team and everybody's going to like Adrian a lot. And going back to the last question, from my perspective, the number one weakness, if it is a weakness, would be the lack of a number one starting pitcher like Cliff Lee, in my mind. However, when we won in 92 and 93 at Toronto, one of those years we won with pitching. The other year we won with defense and offense. And the one year that we won with offense, and we all know that in the playoffs pitching usually dominates, but the one year that we won with offense, we had the top three hitters in the league in Robbie Alomar, John Olerud, and Paul Molitor. Our offensive lineup is pretty doggone good this year, right now. So can we compensate for that? Will we have the guy that the other teams want? You know, when you want that one special guy to take you over the hill kind of thing, it's not near as easy for that to happen as it seems. The only reason we got Josh Hamilton, who we love, is because Cincinnati definitely wanted Edinson Volquez. So we had the guy they wanted, and we made that trade. The only reason we got Cliff Lee is that we had the guy they wanted in Justin Smoke. So we made that trade. And that's part of the reason we're so involved with our farm system, because we want to keep those guys that are going to be franchise players for you guys to have great fun watching in the next years. But we also want to have the guys that we can trade to take us over the mountain right now.
Let me just address the players' reaction to Adrian Beltre, too, real quick. I've done caravans with him, and we've driven to Wichita Falls together and to Austin together and things like that. And I actually did the Winter Carnival with Ian Kinsler. We did an hour Q&A. Some of you may have been there. Ian and I did an hour Q&A, and somebody just asked him, they said, Ian, what do you think, how do you think this team has done in the offseason? Has this team improved itself in the offseason? Mindful of the fact that Ian and Michael are best friends, Ian, his first response to, did this team improve itself in the offseason? And Ian, he's like, dude, we signed Adrian Beltre. He's the best third baseman in the game. That was Ian's reaction to that. That's, obviously it's taking something away from his great friend, Michael Young, but Ian, that was his reaction to Adrian Beltre. So, and a very honest and quick response from him. So there you go.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take one more question, and then in a second we're going to bring out Karen Morris because of what we have going on for the auction, and then we're going to do some more Q&A after that. So why don't you go ahead, ma'am, and get another question in.
Okay. Personally, I think C.J. Wilson has the ability to be every bit as good as Cliff Lee with maturity. But my question right now is, will Felice be a starting pitcher this year?
I thought you were going to say you thought C.J. Wilson was the one with the most potential to be like John Lennon, actually. You need to
answer that.
That was going to be my guess. I mean, that was going to be mine. So I'll hand the Neftali Feliz as a starter question over to Don.
Well, we as a group again talked about this a lot. Especially, and it's a good point on CJ. He certainly is capable of possibly stepping up there. And he had a great season last year and should get better. Is a workaholic and a competitor. So that is a good observation. But if we were not to get that guy that we call a definite number one starter, we wanted to stretch out Neftali and also Alexi Ogando in spring training and see where it goes, because they both have that high upscale potential and high ceiling to be able to possibly someday, sooner or later, be a top flight starter. So what we're really going to do is stretch both of those guys out in spring training and see where it goes. There is no yes or no at this point, but we're going to just see where it goes. And that's part of the reason that we added Arthur Rhodes and more in the back end of the bullpen. We really like our bullpen. We really like our team. And our team is much stronger right now than it was a year ago going into the season.
I'd like to thank everyone up here for taking time out of your day to come speak to us, the fans. I'd like to thank Ben and Skin especially because I like listening to y'all noon to 3 on 103.3. And John, I've always been a big fan of yours. Really easy question for John and then one for Chuck. John, when Elvis hits a home run this year, could you say, has Elvis left the building for me?
I have, matter of fact, I have gotten so many, that's the biggest question that I've been asked. What's the home run call going to be? And I have so many things mulling around in my head. I was just with the producer of the games, Kurt Dykert, from Fox, and I was bouncing all my ideas off of him, and he's like, okay, we'll work on them all in spring training. That's what spring training's for. And so there's going to be I'm going to have a lot of fun doing these things and trying these things. I think the broadcast will be a little bit like Ben and Skin's show, like just kind of crazy and fun and happy and fanny. And so that's me, and that's what I'll try to continue to be. But you know what? For you, I might just work that in, at least in spring training. If Elvis will hit one. Elvis didn't hit a lot of home runs last year. So, yeah. So, if Elvis will hit one in spring training, we might just have him leaving the building before it's all said and done. Now your question for Don.
It's for Chuck.
For Chuck, I'm sorry.
As far as improving the fan experience, one thing I know fine folks at Fox put you on TV last year when you were in the ballpark in Minnesota. And I went to Minnesota in May on a trip there. And I know they have a big old left field bar sponsored by Budweiser. And I know people in Texas like a few things. They like drinking beer, they like Ranger baseball, and they like air conditioning. And I noticed in the right field area, because I have Lexus Club level seats for my tickets plan, that there are basically there's a bar and it's like for rent. And I was thinking maybe not this year, but down the line, maybe we can get a sponsor. Texans would love to hang out in the game there and enjoy their beer and their Rangers and their air conditioning.
Well, those are three pretty good things to enjoy. You know, there are so many great things about Rangers Ballpark, but one of them is that there's so many places that we can look at and envision how we can redeploy them to make the fan experience even better. And one of the things that we want to be very careful about is that in everything that we do, we want to be true to the integrity of the original design. You know, that there was such a tremendous amount of thought and attention that went into the design, primarily from Tom Schieffer and from President Bush. And we believe that over the years, some of that was diluted a little bit. And so we really want to turn back the clock and get back to that original aesthetic. Even when we were looking at where to put in a new video board, a number of the options that we looked at, they would have been intriguing, but they just wouldn't have looked right in the ballpark. It would have looked like a cut and paste job, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted everything to look natural. So you're going to see some changes this year that not only improve the fan experience, but are intended to be more true to the original design of the park. And certainly when we have more time to work with heading into 2012 and 2013, you're going to, every year you're going to see improvements, but we really are going to be committed to doing it in a way that looks like it was always supposed to be that way. But you're really going to love the stuff that we did this year too. It's pretty cool. I was down on the field Sunday morning before the Super Bowl to give a tour to a visiting dignitary, and I was down there. It was the first time I've been down at the field level since we started putting up the steel for the new video board. Now, obviously I was very involved with the planning process and the drawings and the presentations and the computer imagery of it and everything else. But for the first time to be down on the field and look up and see see all the steel, it was really the first time I could fully grasp the magnitude of what it is we're putting in there. It is going to absolutely blow you away. It's almost 6 times the size of the old video board. And the impact that's going to make on the fan experience in terms of being able to bring forward the personalities and the character and the stories of the players more effectively, to show you more replays, to do a whole series of different features that I know you're going to enjoy is going to make a huge impact. We're completely revamping the sound system. That's going to make a big difference. We're replacing every one of the more than 800 television sets in the ballpark with new flat screens. We're going to be putting digital monitors in behind all of the concession stands. We're going to have this L-bar technology where we're going to be able to present more information to fans on the TV screens themselves. We're going to have 10 dedicated high-definition channels with special programming on all the TV. So if you happen to be in a suite or in one of the lounges somewhere in the ballpark, there's all sorts of different programming. We may have a camera that does nothing but follow Josh Hamilton. We may have a camera that's on nothing but the home bullpen or the visitor's bullpen. We're going to create so many different ways to try to enjoy the experience that, I mean, it's really going to be special. And I think everybody knows I like sitting all over the ballpark, so I really tried to get a sense for what would be enjoyable if you're sitting in the right field corner or in the center field bleachers or in the Lexus Club level on the third base line or in the upper deck and left field. I mean, I've sat everywhere. And we're really proud that the improvements we're making this year will offer something for everybody. We didn't want to do something that would only improve the experience for certain fans at certain locations. We wanted to add a multitude of things that were going to improve the experience for every single person who went there, no matter whether you're spending $6 on a bleacher seat or quite a bit more for seats behind home plate. We wanted something for everybody, and we're really pleased with what we're going to be able to deliver.
All right, yeah. Give it up. Okay, here's what's going to happen now. We're going to have Karen Morse of the Rangers Foundation and Luther